Dreamscape presents The Promise and the Dream, the untold story of Martin Luther King Jr. and Robert F. Kennedy, by David Margolick. Narrated by Lewis Arlt. Foreword. Douglas Brinkley. In a sense, the 60s, with all of its promise, turbulence, and tragedy, began with a pair of telephone calls from Jack and Bobby Kennedy 2 weeks before the 1960 presidential election. The civil rights leader, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., had been arrested in Georgia on a trumped-up traffic violation, and a judge had sentenced him to 4 months of hard labor alongside hardened white criminals, putting his life in danger. From a Chicago hotel room, Jack, the Democratic presidential nominee, dialed King's wife, Coretta, to offer sympathy and comfort. Almost simultaneously, the tenacious Bobby called the Georgia judge from a payphone in Long Island, urging him to release King on bail. Within hours, King was free. Throughout white America, the bold telephone calls were low-bar news. But in the African-American community, the word spread like heat lightning. The Kennedy brothers had aligned with King in a showdown with the segregated South and had sprung the Reverend free. By contrast, the sitting vice president and Republican nominee Richard Nixon had remained silent as King was arrested, sentenced, and jailed. Hoping to capitalize on the intervention, Kennedy's campaign arranged for 2 million copies of a pamphlet titled The Case of Martin Luther King, No Comment Nixon versus a Candidate with a Heart, Senator Kennedy, to be distributed to black churches the Sunday before the election. Printed on pale blue paper, the pamphlet came to be known as the Blue Bomb for its timely effect. In 1956, President Dwight Eisenhower had won 39% of the black vote. Now, in 1960, Nixon captured only 32%, a decline that helped Jack Kennedy prevail in Illinois, New Jersey, Michigan, South Carolina, and Delaware. Had Nixon chosen to defend King, he very well could have bagged those 74 electoral votes, and with them the election. Instead, as the reeling 60s began, the Kennedy brothers and King began their march to the mountaintop, linked forever as the animating spirits of the burgeoning civil rights movement. Looking back 5 decades later, it is easy to see the parallels with that fractured decade, and to understand why half a century hasn't dimmed Dr. King's relevance. Then, as now.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?